Hello everyone. In today's episode of Digital Photography Lessons for Beginners, lesson number 7, we're going to talk about how beginners should not be afraid to raise the ISO. I'm going to tell you how the ISO works and why people are afraid to raise the ISO up and why you should not fear it. This is Iyad from Zero to Hero Photography, and today is my 7th day in my YouTube challenge where I'm posting 21 videos in 21 days in raw. Support me by hitting the like button, subscribe and notification bell. Let's get started. Before we talk about why people fear using the ISO, what is the ISO and why do we use it? ISO is the sensitivity of the sensor of the camera towards the light. Usually, the more sensitive the sensor, the more absorption it does to the light. In other words, this is controlled by the ISO. This means that when we increase the ISO, the sensitivity of the sensor increases, and thus it grasps more of the light particles into the photo. It becomes more sensitive, so it attracts more light. The downside to this one is that when it absorbs the light, the higher the ISO goes, the more sensitive the sensor is, and then the photo will become more noisy or grainy because it will have some small blocks or some noise in the photo that you don't like, and this is because the sensor is very sensitive. That's why professional photographers recommend going as low in the ISO as possible and rely on the shutter speed and aperture to get more light into the camera. If it's a daytime, you can set the ISO at 100 and then the sunlight will do the job and give you more light to the photo. You don't need more than that. But the challenge happens when it's nighttime. At night, you don't have enough light. That's why you need to support it by flashlights or the camera settings. Usually, the aperture is limited when you open it as much as possible. In the kit lens, for example, it opens up to 4 stops, which is the widest possible. In other lenses, it can go down up to 1.2 maybe. But if you don't have that lens, then you need to focus on the shutter speed. The slower the shutter speed, the more light gets into the camera. But this is in a perfect scenario. If you rely on the shutter speed and lower it down, sometimes there will be motion blur. The camera might shake, or maybe that your hands are not steady. That's when the tripod comes. Then you put the tripod, the photo is stable, and you can lower the shutter speed as much as possible. Even if it's midnight, the camera opening will take so long to close and grasp as much light as possible. But now, this is all in a perfect world scenario. Let's assume that it's nighttime or evening time and you don't have a tripod on you and you want to take a shot. That's when the ISO comes. The ISO increases the brightness of the photo when you take it. If you increase the ISO, the quality of the photo might go down and the noise will be more. But you shouldn't fear using it. In my camera, for example, I can use the ISO up to 800 without feeling the noise in my photos. And that's why you need to test your ISO before starting taking the photos and see the limit of your cameras. But the first thing is, cameras nowadays are becoming more advanced, and in some cameras you can take the ISO up to 1600 or 3200 and sometimes more, 6400. And even the other day, actually, I had a challenge with a professional photographer who challenged me to use an ISO of 12,500 on his camera. It was Sony A7 I think, if I'm not mistaken. But the thing is, lately the cameras are more advanced and the technology of the ISO is advanced that helps you increase the ISO. Even if it's a nighttime and you take the shot, with the high ISO, the photo won't be grainy. So test your camera and see the settings. Another way to solve this issue is to open the aperture as much as possible. Sometimes having an overexposed photo, slightly overexposed photo, is better than having darker ones, because in the post-editing part, you can make the lighter or bright photos slightly darker without having any noise in them, but making dark photos brighter can result in so much noise and grain in the photo. So don't fear the ISO, hit it up, try it on your camera, and see how far you can go with it. I hope you liked my tips for the day, and please hit the like button if you did like it, and subscribe and activate the notification bell to support me in my YouTube challenge. This is Iyad from Zero to Hero Photography, and see you tomorrow. Bye bye.